Hey, hello everybody. Hello from Berlin. I'm in the student hotel Berlin, where the little ITB is happening. There's quite a few people around here. I'm going to pop out to the I-31 later on to see everybody else. And I'm pleased that I actually made the trip over, despite the unlucky cancellation of ITB. Having said all the welcomes, I guess
I might even take over, Vladdy.
Please go ahead. Yes, you're leading it. Please.
But just a quick question, because we are curious. Is there many people in the student hotel right now? What's your perception of that?
I'm trying to find a quiet spot. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow, that's great news for everyone, because there's some lovely partners of ours over there as well, including Apaleo and Hoteliers.com. I think Koto Order and some others. So I'm happy for Philip and his team that the hotel is full and they're making some bucks as well. Yep. So Vladdy, joining through, you listened in, I saw it, but following the process of what we want to achieve in the 30 minutes, a quick intro on yourself, because you have an incredible background on 10,000 things you're doing. A quick 60 seconds intro to your solution, and then whatever you prepared, we'll happy to share that and then go into. But please give us a little bit time for Q&A. We have experts here that can ask smart questions, so give us some room as well. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I have scripted the whole thing, so let's see how this goes. Right. My background. Well, I really started into hotels a very long time ago. My father was, bless his soul, was a hotelier. So I've done it all. I've started my career as a telephone operator and worked all the way up to international revenue management work for Le Méridien Hotels, then merging Starwood and Le Méridien. And since then, I've opened up a consultancy that helps independent hotels in all sorts of ways, revenue management being one of the center. About 5 years ago, we've started a Beehive Hospitality, which supports hotels operationally. It is using the so-called dirty word of outsourcing, although nowadays people are waking up to the reality that outsourcing is a good thing to have. Now, upgrade2 being the topic of the day, started taking shape about 5-6 years ago as an idea and as an idea and as a product. And finally, about the beginning of last year, we have fully opened it up for sale to hotels. We started gaining momentum, and nowadays we are out there having customers, paying customers who enjoy the benefits of the tool. Now, this is basically what upgrade2 is. upgrade2 is a cloud e-commerce platform which enables hoteliers and travel companies to make a guest stay or the entire trip customizable. In this day and age, we know what that means. We're moving very fast, and we want everything that we would like to see to be on our handheld or on a computer and have access to that information. So that's the pitch about upgrade2. That's what it does. It basically works in two wonderful ways. We have some background noise coming through. I did say. So that's that.
Okay, Vladimir, did you prepare a slide or a live demo or whatever which you would like to share?
I have, but before I went into that, I have a few things that I wanted to show you. But before I get into that, I'll give you a little bit of a background of how upgrade2 actually started. There is a myth behind it, like every other successful product. So a long time ago, when I had more hair on my head, I was working for another great pioneering company in the hospitality space. It was in the dawn of the internet and the beginning of the century. Excitement was all around, as we all remember. During that time, I was lucky to meet a general manager with a vision of the future of the guest satisfaction and enhanced profitability. One evening, after a day of operational and technological marvels, we were sitting at the bar and were musing about all things hospitality. He then said to me, imagine a booking engine where a guest will be able to virtually walk into their bedroom and set it up. Click on the pillows and set the type and counts. Click on the duvet, select the type should they wish to do so. Click on the newspaper lying on the side table and select the ones he wants to receive. It was the dawn of the century. People were still using dial-up. It was the time of the worldwide wait. The rich media dream was not possible. That's where it all started. The travel industry and our traditions within the travel industry, now it is a fast-moving place. Much like the rest of the world, digitization has taken a firm hold, and much of the transactions in the travel space are now electronically done. The more modern travelers have adopted the immediacy of connection to travel to their benefit. Events, that even the traditionally conservative hotelery is setting new technology, making huge waves. Muse, to mention, Apaleo, SiteMinder, Pace, and a few others, all companies which were in the startup mode just a few years ago and are now taking a firm hold in the technology space. Now, all this is setting the scene for even more direct integration with the traveler, particularly for hoteliers who, even if they wanted to do more with their guests, have been hampered by the existing technology, the difficulty to communicate between the systems, and the cost of integration. All of these have now been renegated to the past. Technology is in a fast and a very different place. Connecting between systems is not a major hurdle. Development has fallen back from months to weeks, and the cost of integration is rapidly moving to transactional costs rather than flat fees as they were. Now, let me tell you why I think that ancillary revenues are quite important. I'll give some examples from the airline industry. The 2019 report from IdeaWorks and Catroller puts a price per customer of $24 per passenger. This is ancillary revenues, okay? Now, particularly for companies like Ryanair, Jet2.com, Pegasus, these guys show 36% of their total revenue being generated by ancillary sales. Overall, the entire airline industry says that 12% of their total top-line revenue is delivered by ancillary revenues. And it is low because a lot of the major airlines have significant revenues generated through cargo, and there's no ancillary revenues that we can talk about per passenger. So to put it in a nutshell, the hotels generally have huge opportunity. It has been difficult for the general hotelier to get ancillary revenues going, and to be honest, the technology hasn't had helped. There is also some traditional thinking within the industry, and there are a couple of questions I'm going to put outside to the audience for those of you who are watching this. And let me say this: how much revenue is generated by a hotel or resort from the time a reservation is booked through the time that a guest checks in? And the answer is zero, right? So we don't have traditionally, and unless you use some tool out there traditionally with the traditional booking engines, most of the hotels do not have the capability of generating additional revenue from the time that the reservation is made till the time that the guest arrives at the hotel. And we're talking hotels here, even travel agencies. Okay. Would you think about the number of clicks a guest needs to complete a reservation as relevant to conversion ratio for their own direct website booking engine? That's another question. And the answer to that is yes, of course. The more clicks, the more noise you introduce in the process, the less likely is that your guest is going to convert that reservation. And finally, to put it into perspective, would you be able to sell an additional breakfast or spa massage or tea time if you do not get the reservation into your hotel? And the answer is obviously no. And so if we reduce the complexity of making a reservation and move the ancillary sales after the reservation is completed, is where we would be able to increase the direct conversions, start a conversation with our guests, offer them relevant stuff that they're going to use during their stay, and we're going to have more profitability. At the end, we have more profitability at the hotel, and at the same time, we have happier guests because we have engaged them and we have started offering them relevant things to their stay because we care. Okay, I'm gonna show you a couple of things that we've done, and actually I'm not going to bore you too much with the system. What I'm gonna show you is let me just share my screen.
Sure, absolutely. Especially interested in the process a little bit, and you said as well in the beginning that you can upgrade the entire stay. I think that's the points that could be interesting. But go ahead with sharing.
Yep. Yep.
And we're inviting at the same time we're inviting the audience as well to send in any questions. We still have 14 minutes, so that's gonna be all right. Okay, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Good. All right. So what I'm gonna do, I mean, we have a short presentation, and I think the question about the process is very straightforward. You have a brief explanation of what we do here, but the process is very simple. We take two direct approaches to reach the customer. We're capable of extending the shopping experience from the point of the reservation being completed immediately into our environment, where the guests will be able to continue immediately with upgrades rather than right after they have completed their reservation. So now the guests have stated that they're coming, and if they had the time, they can spend it straight here to continue their journey. We also use the traditional approach from what we have already heard from others, where we would basically pick up the information from the property management system and reach out to the guests as the time goes between the time that the reservation is completed till the time that they actually arrive at the hotel. We're using on the first instance, we're using a direct electronic communication, which basically allows the guests to progress through their journey. In the second instance, we're using a time offset type of connection, whereby we would reach out with an email, whether it is the email confirmation from the booking engine that the hotel already has, or one that is issued by us, or both. And we have the capability of indeed doing email marketing campaigns, and that's what they essentially do is they do the shopping of each of the guests' stays and offers the product that are relevant to that stay back to the guests. So when they receive the email, there's already a selection of products that the hotel or the agency would like to offer to their guests. And once they click over, they see the same thing on our site. So the conversion ratios are really, really good. This is the alternative, and here you can see an allusion to a reservation that is coming from Booking.com. And just a minute ago, we heard about Booking.com having the capability of resending their messages on, and that's exactly what we would do as well. That works quite nicely for hotels, particularly, and this is particular for hotels, particularly when they have huge amount of reservations coming through third-party channels like Expedia and Booking.com. They can start the conversation directly with their guests before their arrival, and once they come in, they will know significantly more about the entire trip.
Vladimir, I have a very specific question to that screen. And I get the process, obviously, but so you're starting the journey with the guest via the OTA, you contact them on the pseudo email you get from Booking.com, let's say, which is not the original one, right? And then you send them to the website of the hotel. Would you then, in that step, be able that the guest changes actually their credentials to real email address of the guest?
Don't tell that to Booking.com, but yes, they can.
Very good.
So I fixed the core thing.
Yeah, it's part of the confirmation process. It's regardless through which channel the guest has arrived. Upon their so-called checkout, where they need to confirm that they have, they're done with this particular transaction. They click on complete. At that point, they need to confirm their email address. And what we have seen so far is that we have a certain amount of changes that are appearing on our side from the original email that was that was given to us as Booking.com email address to the real email address of that particular guest. So the answer is yes.
Well, interesting, because that's a pain point, obviously, for every hotel to get the real contact.
Talking about owning your guests, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I'm probably going to look at it slightly differently. Yes, it is a great opportunity. I will not rely on this particular methodology to have it done. So as in rely 100% on upgrade2 to get you the email addresses of all your guests. We can do it. It is not fair on Booking.com. And you'll probably find that you're in breach of your terms and conditions with Booking.com at that point. However, what is probably more important than the email address of the guest, because you can get it at later stage as well, with this methodology, you are gaining the attention of the guest as a hotel. Previous to this, you wouldn't have been able to do that, right? Even though you had the Booking.com email address on your site, you could potentially send them an email. It takes a long time to do that, even if you use, I don't know, Email Monkey or whatever it is. MailChimp is the right name for this. You are still in a position where you're only able to communicate one way. With us, you're able to communicate two ways. You're going out, you're giving them relevant options for their stay, whether it is for them to configure their own reservation in their own way, whether it is to sell additional services from the hotel, spa, breakfast, dinners, and so forth, or sell in-destination services and experiences, tickets to events, trips within the city, and so forth. These are things that are relevant to the guest stay. We're working with a CRM solution on our side. We're not going to be a CRM, just to say it right out. We're working with a CRM solution on our side, whereby the profile of the guest will be brought to us in such a way that we're going to be able to further, in fact, it's more or less done. We're going to be able to further tailor the products that we're offering to this particular guest based on their profile that the hotel has. So we're not just trying to push more stuff into guests. We're trying to make it very relevant and create an experience. And we all know that the millennials out there are all about experiences and less about the cost. And so so that this is where we're taking this tool. And going back to your initial question, emails, it's great to have them, but what do you do with it? And I think engaging the guests as the hotel carries significantly more weight with respect to owning your guests than grabbing their email, right? So it is grabbing their email. You can do it check-in. You can do it at whilst they're at the hotel, and it's going to be a lot easier to do it and convert them to that point. If you had already started a conversation with them, you're no longer a transactional thing. You're no longer a commodity bed and breakfast or stay in a destination type of thing. You're now caring about your guests. You're giving them an opportunity to tailor their reservation, make their stay relevant, show them interesting things that they can do in your destination. And what's more important is we're not just looking at the higher end hotels, 4 and 5 stars. We're able to also integrate 3-star hotels into this process, which is really, really difficult if you think about it, because what the 3-star hotels don't have is resources. And we're able to actually offer them solution.
Okay, Vladimir, as we only have 5 minutes left, we would love to start the Q&A a little bit. And Iris has an interim question.
Yeah, that was actually just to your point about the, like, what would you do with the email? I mean, it's like, I think, you know, additional to the fact that you have the CRM and can do some like tailored recommendations for that, the hotel obviously with the email can identify a return guest much faster than they would potentially do if the guest doesn't return via that same channel than usual. So there's always some benefits in which, you know, how are you handling the return guest? What do you do like in recognizing that? Is there anything your tool can offer?
Yes, indeed. Whatever there is return guests, and I did say before, we're not aiming to be CRM. We did make some noises internally about introducing CRM functionality into our tool. Potentially, it's not that difficult to do it on our side. However, I do not want to rediscover the wheel. You know, the hot water is already invented. There are plenty of CRMs out there that are having very good functionalities. What we said we're going to do, and we're almost completing the development for that, is the capability to understand which products within the hotel are best tailorable for a particular guest. And the guest, for us, what is relevant is the stay of the guest. We would like to make that stay an experience. So the more information we bring into the total scoop of details that we have. Okay, we already know the arrival, the departure, the name of the guest, and so forth. But now, with what we're doing is we're going to bring also the preferences of that guest in mind. So when we're preparing the proposal, the offer to that guest, and remember, the proposal is done on a per guest or per stay basis, we are able then to select which products to display to that guest up further on the list and make those more visible to them, and in that way make that stay a lot more relevant to the guests and indeed use the information of their return.
Okay, we need to go into quicker replies now, Vladimir, because there's only three minutes left. Shoshana.
Okay, one question for me, because I'm really interested what it is about. I saw on your slide standby option for room type upgrade, for example. How exactly do you do that? I mean, do you have kind of like a waiting list in the back end of the system? Are you transferring that information to a property management system so people can actually see once they get a cancellation that there is another guest waiting for the upgrade? How does that work?
Right. So what we said is we're not going to be a revenue management system either. Okay. We said we're not going to be a CRM. We said we're not going to be a revenue management system either. So all that fun stuff with, I'm going to now offer you a cheaper price. Yes, we can do it. It is a lot more manual than what we have heard previously and with other incumbents on the market that offer the same service. We're particularly flexible with that. One of the things that I think you're alluding to, and what I said before, is we would bring upgrading functionality from a CRS to actually give us the capability of offering the right price at the right time to the right customer. The standby options we went in with because we did not want to become another CRM, excuse me, another revenue management system. We can do a lot of things with the room types, and we can assign all sorts of different connections between the different upgrades. But it is all done with the idea that if the hotel has the availability on the day of arrival, they'll give it to the guest.
So that actually a reservation is not booked on option somewhere. You're just naming it standby, or what's happening with that information?
That is correct. So just like all the rest of the products that the guests can book through us, the standby options at this stage are exactly that. They're standby. So the guest arrives at the desk, or in the morning when the front desk is assigning the rooms, they can look at whatever's come in for upgrades, because they get that list every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, plus wherever there is a request of standby that goes into the PMS, wherever we have the connection with the PMS, and then they can decide of whether they want to reassign those people, because essentially they can charge them for that money.
Sounds good. Thank you. Very interesting.
Time.
Sorry, I like to talk.
No, that was great. I think that there will be value as well for people reaching out to you to dive a little bit deeper into the real process of your solution, how it works, how you can upgrade, especially the entire stay. I think that's pretty interesting. And so can you just point out, actually that's your point to raise, but I just stepped in. Can you elaborate on where people can see you today and tomorrow? I guess the
students hotel right now.
Yeah.
I'm at the student hotel right now. I will probably spend the day here. I'll also jump out to I-31 later on to see all our friends out there. And people can reach out to me either on my phone, which was on the screen just a minute ago, over LinkedIn. I have put up an event for today and for the ITB. And so I'll be more than happy to meet whoever wants to meet, or arrange for a meeting at a later stage and a presentation as well.
Okay, cool. Vladimir, thank you so much for joining us today. I would love you to stop sharing your screen, because otherwise we cannot. And I'm looking forward to meet you soon, say hello to your lovely wife and your kids. And I hope to see you soon around the hospitality industry. And when we get all this recording posted somewhere, we'll obviously let you know.